Anyway, look, away from all that nonsense, GB News can exclusively reveal that more than 1,000 small boat migrants crossed the Channel yesterday on what was the new Home Secretary's first full day in the job.
Yes, now that brings the total to a staggering number, 29,000 arrivals this year.
Well, the Prime Minister is battling to get a grip with all of this, of course. Reports the Home Secretary could announce as early as tomorrow the relocation of migrants from hotels to disused army barracks.
They'll be talking about Rwanda next, won't they? I don't know. Let's get more details from former Conservative advisor Charlie Rowley. It does seem extraordinary, but it is almost as though sooner or later they're going to say, oh, why don't we revive that Rwanda thing?
Well, wouldn't that be extraordinary? I mean, of all the U-turns that this government could undertake, reversing that particular policy and going back to what was the Conservative plan of the Rwanda scheme, the thing that on day one of this government that they scrapped, it would be extraordinary. But you mentioned the new Home Secretary there. I think it's important to dwell on the former Home Secretary.
Well, exactly.
Who you said, absolutely right, you said in the last hour, as I was watching on my way in, Yvette Cooper, who had 5 years as the shadow Home Secretary to prepare for all of the crises that we're talking about day in, day out today. And not only that, she was the chairwoman of the Home Affairs Select Committee. You know, if there is anybody in British politics today, you would have thought it would be Yvette Cooper who would have been able to tackle this crisis and who, over those years, had been attacking the Conservative government for all of the things that
Nobody
got wrong. And she's been moved out.
Nobody could possibly be more prepared for the job than Yvette Cooper. She's completely and utterly cocked it up, hasn't she?
Well, you can't draw any other conclusion, which is why Sir Keir Starmer's moved her on, because, you know, he has overseen, with her as the Home Secretary, now former Home Secretary, you know, a record number of small boat crossings within a 12-month period of Labour taking office. If that doesn't scream failure, then I don't know what is on any government sort of record.
Do you think he's been planning this reshuffle, or at least to maybe move Yvette Cooper on for some time, and then just chose the right moment, Reform UK's day one of their conference, and also, obviously, a reaction to Angela Rayner?
As a journalist, I always need to remember more in less time. And you know what I really hate? Taking notes. It wastes loads of time and you forget stuff. And that's where Plord comes in. This is the Plord Note, a sleek, pro-level AI note-taker that records and creates notes for you. Whether you're listening to a long podcast, stuck in a meeting, or on an important call, Plord captures everything at the tap of a button. Then it gives you a smart, structured summary with all of the key takeaways. It even recognises different speakers by their voice, and you can choose from bullet points, to-do lists, or even mind maps. Your data's safe too, with end-to-end encryption and global privacy compliance. And with Plord's built-in AI, you can search everything you've ever recorded just by asking a question. It's slim, magnetic, under 30 grams, lasts up to 60 days on standby, and over 1 million people are already using it. Hit the link in the description and use code GB10 for £10 off your Plord order. Save hours of time and never miss a detail again. Link in the description below.
Well, I do think that's right. I mean, there's always been a bit of speculation about reshuffle within the Labour government. When was it going to come? There was speculation that it was going to be during the Reform conference, but I think Angela Rayner's resignation, which if she didn't resign would have been a sacking because of all the issues that we've subsequently learned. So he's sort of been forced into it, whether it was going to happen this weekend or not.
It just struck me the other day, and as you were saying there, Stephen, it never looked... In opposition, she was quite fiery about her brief. But since she has actually been Home Secretary, it never has looked as though her heart was really in it.
No.
Do you think maybe it went against what she had to do, or had to say she was going to do, went against her own principles?
I do think I think there's an element of that, but I also think, this is a classic expose of the Home Office. It was a former Labour Home Secretary years ago, John Reid, that said the Home Office is not fit for purpose.
Yes.
And it seems every Home Secretary, whether it's Labour, whether it's Conservative, since have come in and they have obviously been met against the blob, the people in the Home Office, the civil servants who have been there for years, who think it's either far too difficult to do this or, no, Minister, you can't do that because of whatever law or regulation is blocking you to try and get things done. So I think she's obviously been a front row spectator, and everyone's a critic, and she's been the chief critic of the former government, but having a ringside seat, knowing all the levers, investigating the Home Office through the Select Committee, but also as the Shadow Home Secretary, and then actually coming in to the office, has not been able to move or shift the dial, and I think that's clearly weakened her political career, and that's why Sir Keir Starmer is thinking, well, I need to move her.
Well, it's interesting. Shabana Mahmood is said to be a tougher nut to crack, and we've now had this. It's being floated, at least, that she could very quickly move people out of hotels and into, in effect, sort of detention centres, but sort of based at, or disused army barracks or things like that. Is that going to be a popular move if it happens? Is it likely to happen, do we think?
Well, I think it'll be a popular move with the country.
It doesn't stop the boats, though, does it?
But it doesn't stop the boats, and so I think that is putting your finger on it there. And I think the problem with the whole situation is that there is no coherency, there is no strategy, there's no point sort of having the rhetoric, smash the gangs or stop the boats or get people out of hotels when your other policy is a one in, one out. Well, nobody wants a one in, one out. They just want the whole thing to stop.
Well, it's one in, one out, which it doesn't seem to make a huge amount of sense on its own. But currently, it's 3,500 in, none out.
Exactly.
As it currently stands. It all seems absolutely shambolic.
You wonder what Shabana Mahmood might do about that.
Well, exactly. And I think, look, where there's been former Labour Home Secretaries like John, we talked about John Reid earlier on, but David Blunkett and Jack Straw that have said, actually, you need to suspend our membership of the EHCR in order to get a grip of this. I wonder whether Shamama Mahmood might actually be part of that camp and that ideology, where Vic Cooper might not have been, as a mechanism to deport people that shouldn't be here, who shouldn't be able to claim a right to a family life or a right to remain here because of their potential persecution back home, even though they've committed crimes in the UK whilst being here. So that has been obviously what gets people's blood boiling.
Can I just ask you about Angela Rayner and the fact she's getting a payoff for leaving?
Do we know that she's going to accept it?
Yes, I think she's getting 17,000.
And it's been confirmed she's going to accept it.
So, you've been in the sort of bubble, if you like, for a long time. When ministers, secretaries of state resign, they do get a payout. It was ever thus. Right, so in some respects, you've got to say, well, why shouldn't she have it? Everybody else gets it. However, doesn't it leave a bad taste in the mouth?
I think it does, particularly on the way in which she's had to go. To salvage her career, I would have thought the best thing to do would be able to say, you know what, I know I might be entitled to this payoff.
Yeah.
But
I might need it.
And I might need it. Yeah, exactly. I might need it. But you know what? I'm going to turn it down as an act of good faith and hope that I can mount a political career again or a comeback. Well,
that's it, because if she wanted to do a comeback at some point, and if the Labour government may feel they need her to come back at some point, if she does accept, as she has said she will, this payout, it won't look good for her again, will it? It'll be another sort of blot against her copybook.
And the whole point of her resignation is you're absolutely right, it's the hypocrisy. Now, I think Angela Rayner could have easily got herself out of the situation that she was in about 10 days ago. Now, of course, she had a complication, I think, earlier on in the year about her council tax affairs, and there was an interest in where she was living and not, and all this. But, so once bitten, twice shy. When she's had another event about a second home policy in Hove, and there were issues around that and questions around that. But if she'd fronted it up, if she'd said, I've read what's in the newspapers, I've been asked questions, I'm going to make sure that I'm totally above board on this matter and take expert advice on day 2 of the story, rather than saying or allowing her advisors maybe to tell people like The Telegraph, who were running the story, to say, you're only attacking Angela Rayner because she's northern, because she's a woman, you're misogynistic and you're classist. And so therefore, they're there, off you go, don't bother reporting on the story. If they'd handled it properly, she could have easily apologised and said, there is a mistake here, I'm terribly sorry, and I'm going to pay my fair share of tax, the tax that's owed, as everybody should. And given it was over summer, you would have hoped that actually the story might have rumbled on. The fact is, all of that took place, the derogation, the obfuscation, the criticism of others, ran into the government launching phase 2
Yeah.
of its
Yeah, I mean,
of its government.
She blamed
and she
her
dominated
lawyers.
headlines.
She blamed her
everybody
lawyers.
else,
I
yeah.
watched the interview again, and she did. She blamed her lawyers. And as we now know, it was the very lawyers, the conveyancing solicitors, who told her she must get expert tax and tax advice, and she took the choice not to.
Yeah.